kind of discrepancies or anything you need to take note of before to avoid any kind of issues with your exam and results. The first date is the date of the exam. That's the 6th of August. The second date is the 3rd of August. That's where you're going to get, that will be next weekend. That's where you're going to, or next week, Monday, I think, or in 3 weeks or 2 weeks, thereabouts. That's when you're going to get your login details. Now, this login details is very important because that's how you're going to access your exam question, and that's how you're going to submit your answers. So if by third maximum, you don't get your login details, please contact your service provider or course providers as you may, and make sure you let them know that you haven't gotten the login details, because without the login details, there's no way you're going to get the exam questions or you're going to be able to submit your answer. On the 13th of August is my third date, which is for the submission of your practicals. For the new syllabus, like I said, it's going to be online. So they're going to furnish you with an email address where you're going to drop this practical. For the old syllabus guys that are still doing the IGC3, it's going to be hard copy at your course provider's office. The last date is the 21st of August, which is the deadline for closing interview. Now, your closing interview can be from the day after your exam up until the 21st of August. So by 20th of August, if your course provider still hasn't gotten back to you as regards a schedule for the interview, then you should start calling them to make sure that they know that you wrote the exam. That's that for the date that you should put in mind. Now, for the exam itself, like I said, you're going to download the questions on the 6th of August using the login details. You're going to also download a booklet. When you're done with your exam, within the 24 hours period, you can upload your booklet. That is your answers. You cannot upload the booklet by 9:01 or 9:02. Anything from 9 a.m. the next morning, you would not be able to upload the booklet. So you want to make sure that, like I said, you start as soon as possible, finish as soon as possible, make your corrections, and then send the first thing the next morning or that particular night to avoid oversleeping or any kind of issues that might arise and stop you from sending. So also, you want to notice that you should not send more than one copy. If you send 2 copies, it might get flagged, and your exam will not be marked. So you want to make sure if you have a corrected copy, remove the last one you uploaded and then upload the very, very new one. For your closing interview or your interview after the exam, you need a quiet room. If you know you're a nursing mother or nursing father, as the case may be, or you have an elderly person that you have to be with 24/7, you need to contact the course provider so that when they are scheduling your interview, they know that someone else has to be in that room. You have to show the interviewer the entire room you're doing the video in, and then you have to back the door. So make sure it's a room that has just one door. So you back the door so that the interviewer can see the door and see that no one else is coming in. The only thing that you're supposed to have with you is your ID card. That's your federal ID, your driver's license, international passport, your voter's card, your national ID. Anything apart from that will not be accepted. Your exam questions will be 10 questions that carry 100 marks. You can have one question with A, B, C, or A, B, depending, but each question would carry 10 marks and it will total 100 marks. You have a word count of 3,000 in general. Each question will carry their own word count limits, which are supposed to follow strictly with a 10% tolerance. That is, the entire thing should not be more than 3,300, but you want to be very careful with the way you use the tolerance, even if you have to use it at all. And the best way to do that is to avoid any kind of unnecessary informations that have nothing to do with your answer or the questions that you have been asked in the first place. Another very important point that you need to note is the issue of plagiarism. Things that can lead to plagiarism is collusion, writing the exam in group that would lead to you people writing literally the same thing, or lifting from internet sources your manual word for word and then putting it down in your answer booklet. This would lead to your exam being flagged, and if after investigation you're proven guilty, you're going to be banned from writing any Bosch exam, for the next 5 years thereabout, depending on the outcome of the investigation, that is diploma or any other exam that is NIBOSH related. Okay, so for answering the questions, I talked about following the scenario, I talked about referencing, I also talked about the word counts, like I keep saying. We're going to continue. If you have any more discussion on that at our next scheduled revision class. To close this particular one, I have sent some answers to Celestine. Celestine, please share the screen now. Answers to questions 1 and then 2, and then somebody requested that I look at tax 3 and then explain that. So I will do that also before we go. So just give me an additional 10-15 minutes to do all of this. Celestine, please share the screen. So while we're waiting for that, I said that you should attack this question as if you're being employed as a consultant in that organization. So you want to focus on the scenario, make sure that your answers are linked to the particular scenario that you have been given, or else you're going to have correct answers, but you'll not get any marks. Another thing that I noticed from the way you're answering I don't know if it's because you're saying it, is that you put the question. This number 1 question talks about moral reasons. So there's all of these other things. So the first thing is we're going to list the moral reasons for promoting good health and safety, maybe in a paper, and then you're going to go to your book or your booklets and then start transferring those reasons. You have moral reasons like the duty of care that workers have to, the duty of reasonable care that the employer, societal acceptance and societal expectation. You're going to talk about the employer's moral duty to make sure that the workers are not exposed to unsafe working condition. You're also going to talk about the fact that incidents or accidents on sites can lead to serious pain and injury. You're going to talk about moral obligation as just simply the right thing to do. And individually, you can link this to the scenario with other points that you can get in your manual. I don't know if it's just me, but okay, I can see the screen now. Every organization has a moral obligation to ensure that all risks to workers' health and safety are eliminated or reduced as low as reasonably practicable when it is not possible to eliminate the risk. The absence of proper lighting in the car park due to damaged lights, inadequate parking space, reversing all put workers at risk of vehicle collision, which is a breach or simply against the organization's moral obligation. Subjecting workers to this unsafe working environment increase the risk of injuries in the workplace, and these injuries would lead to serious pain and suffering for not just the workers, but their colleagues, friends, and most importantly, their families, making sure that the corrective actions are taken by providing additional lighting, fixing. This, my first point that I have has my first or number 1 answer has 2 points in it. The first point is the moral obligation that they have to ensure that all workers are all risk in the workplace are eliminated or reduced. And then my second point is about pain and suffering. So like I said, you can decide to put this thing in paragraphs as long as you explain them, or you can use conjunctions, just like we discussed, explain and describe questions. So what I did with that first thing, paragraph that you can see, is I have 2 points, and if you can look at it clearly, I know some of us are already screenshotting. If you send me your answers and you have this that I've written literally, I will charge you for plagiarism. But if you can look at it, if you can see it clearly, you will see that when I came to my second answer, which is about leading to serious pain and suffering, I also, brought in points from the scenario. When I was talking about the first answer, I brought in points from the scenario. I didn't just list them. All staffs, the second one now, all staffs in the organization, regardless of position and job description, have a duty of care to ensure their own safety and that of other workers. So workers need to be trained to ensure that when doing anything that could put themselves or others at risk, like reversing in a congested car park, need to ensure that the place is free of pedestrians and use appropriate safety precautions like honks, appointing a temporary blanksman. This will help all workers individually build a safety consciousness that will positively impact the organization's overall safety culture. So basically, these are sample answers are for the question 1. So I expect 10 paragraphs from that making points. So let's go to the second one, please. Okay, so the second task says why near misses should be investigated. I'm going to read the question now. At the Health and Safety Committee meeting, you discuss the recent car park near miss. Some of the committee members dismissed the idea of investigating tribal car park near misses, but you disagreed. What arguments can you give to convince the committee to investigate this car park near miss? Note, you should support your answers where applicable using relevant information from the scenario. So I'm going to read possible answers. Near miss is an unplanned event that did not result in injury, loss, but had the potential to do so. Only a fortunate break in chain of events. You cannot get this slide, though. You cannot get the slide. Only, Celestine, please make them clear. Thank you. Only a fortunate break in the chain of events prevented an injury, fatality. In other words, nonetheless very near. This paragraph is something you can do away with. Near misses, like the incident that happened in the car parking lot, are accident waiting to happen, and lack of investigation and implementation of corrective actions would most likely lead to a serious accident. So my first point there is that they should investigate the near miss so that it doesn't result into an accident. Investigating near misses, second point, would help identify both immediate causes and underlying causes of the incident. And this would help when determining precautions to implement. Lack of investigation, however, would lead to deciding on controls that may not necessarily control the risk, especially the root causes, and this would mean the risk would still exist after such controls are implemented. All this long story is basically telling that if we do not investigate near misses, we will not be able to identify immediate and root causes. And if we put in controls without identifying these causes, we're going to continue having near misses and eventually accidents. What I'm just trying to do is give you give reasons why we should investigate these car parks. Must the answers be as elaborate as this? No, as long as you can, this is for teaching purposes, as long as you can, state your point thoroughly, you can keep the paragraph as short as possible, but there's no way one sentence would be enough. Remember that you have to still 1 or 2 ways link the scenario. Okay, so I'm going to read the third task and then, give you an hint on what you're expected to write there. The contract manager tries to reassure the Health and Safety Committee that the company has an adequate statement of general policy for health and safety. Copies of the policy are shown to the committee. See below. This health and safety policy is a commitment to prevent accident, investigate accident and near misses, prevent injury and ill health, provide safe and healthy working conditions, provide a safe plant and equipment for office and mobile workers, ensure safe handling and use of substances, set and review specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound health and safety objectives, meet legal requirements, identify health and safety hazards and risk in the workplace, provide adequate training, consult with workers, review the policy every 10 years. These are the content of their policy. Based on the scenario only, comment on how effectively this policy has been implemented. So if you look at the scenario, you would see that most of the things that are written here are just documents that, as the scenario proves, that they're not following. Like investigating near misses, a question literally said they were arguing with you about investigating near misses. So you discussed that part. You discussed the part that they do not have a safe working condition. There's no lighting in the car park. There's space constraints also in the car park. Also, review of the policy you're going to discuss. So you're going to discuss this content in the arraignment section. Remember, the policy has 3 sections. The policy has the statement of intent, the organizational section and the arrangement section. This question focuses on the arrangement section. These are things that they had documented. So you need to, in 10 points, show the ones that they were adhering to and the ones that they weren't adhering to. Basically, that's what the task 3 is about. Like I said, what I have on my slides are just like an introduction to how you answer the question. I have fully answered it. I will review my answers hopefully definitely before the next revision class, and then I will send you copies of the likely answers to the question, and then that could help with your revision as well. Before I take questions, I'm just going to round up. Next class, we're going to review this in total first, and then we're going to discuss the syllabus bit by bit, and then see the kind of scenario questions that can come from each of these elements and how we can tackle them, basically to equip ourselves fully before the day of the exam. And hopefully with all the new system, we're definitely going to have a Zoom party after the exam. So if you have any questions, you can just drop them now so that we can all get back with our day. Investigating near miss, can we use the word that root cause is a basic problem? By God's grace, you can prove that. Deborah, you can do that. If you can prove it.
Hello.
Yes, boss, I can hear you.
The scenario that you shown also, it seems you use almost 2 points or 3 points in one scenario, in one of the points. Because if we do it like this, I believe we will not have enough points to buttress or to have up to 10
you're going to get a mark. Remember that when we're discussing in class, we also discuss explain, the style of explaining and the style of describing. So you can use conjunctions as long as you discuss the points individually. So you can say that the employers have a moral obligation to ensure that their workers are safe, by providing them a safe working environment. As stated in the scenario, the organization did not provide a safe place of work due to the absence of proper lighting. Also, workers have a responsibility to ensure their safety and the safety of others. As shown in the scenario, the worker reversing did not put into consideration the safety of other pedestrians in that particular car park. I have given 2 points and still in one paragraph, and I have explained individual points.
So the marker we understand and mark it as according
by
to
God's grace. But I'm saying that for you to be able to easily identify the number of points and to avoid any kind of gray areas, that's why I advise that let's go with one paragraph for each point.
Yeah, then better. Thank you.
All right, boss. All right, I'm still taking questions.
All right. Yes, sir. Sorry, Mr. Kayode, please just help me with this. Like you state one moral reason, can you break the scenario in?
Compare, yeah, basically, exactly. If you put it that way. So you're giving your answer and then you're showing that did not happen in the organization, basically.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Hello, Mr. K.
Question?
Hello, Mr.
Yes, boss, I can hear
Hello,
you.
Mr. K.
I can hear you, boss.
Yes,
I can hear you, boss.
sorry. Yeah, thank you so much. Sorry, I had network issues too. I couldn't go through or see through the scenarios, especially the first slide. Well, however, my question is this: for the moral reasons, can we do it in a way where we, for instance, we are mentioning duty care, and we bring in, different examples from different incidents that happened with this case. And if you now, apart from duty care, can we also go, because if you look at goodwill protection, for instance, you might have some examples under duty care. Can we, bring in this and many more from that case and include them in the different points we will make?
Yes, you can. Definitely, you can.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay, so I have a question here from Ugo that says, can we cite examples, perhaps from known near misses outside a given scenario to buttress our point? Okay, so when you start doing that for your point, it will take a lot. It will take a lot of word count, and it won't get you any marks.
Okay.
So the best is to bring from the scenario. So it's like you're being consulted from by an organization. Let's say a school, for instance, consults me that they need an emergency procedure in this school. The ones that they've been doing have been a problem. Now, if I have experience from upstream, downstream, or midstream oil and gas, or something in the aviation sector, I cannot ask them to go and buy life jackets. It's a school. So that particular example would be, it would take me out of the context of that consultation. So that's why I said you should see that scenario as a company you're working for. So you're trying to solve that problem. So you bring their problem and then provide a solution to that particular problem, as opposed to looking at other people's problem. So it would take your word count, and it would also not get you marks. So please do not do that. Be very careful. Okay. Vincent says, is there a standard format for referencing? No, it's nothing too deep. Just state the name of the material, state the year it was published, and if possible, the author. Class. Do I have any other questions?
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Coyote.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Please, I have a question.
Okay.
Now, can you give same points, different scenarios? Let's say, for example, employers are supposed to provide a safe place of work. Now, as seen in the scenario, there was not enough lighting in the car park. That's one. And also, safe place of work, as seen in the scenario, they're supposed to have provided a pedestrian walkway. You know, I've said two different things, but the same.
Yeah, but I guess you 1 mark.
No, I'm not saying in the same paragraph. I'm saying in a different paragraph, but the same point.
Yeah, but you see that second example you're giving is not the answer to the question. It is that first thing that you have said, which is that they should provide a safe work environment. That's the answer to the question. So the remaining two things you cited about pedestrian walkways and lighting is just to buttress your 1 point. So all those things you've said gets you 1 point.
1 point, okay.
Yeah, 1 mark.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay. Any other question? Yes, boss, I can hear you.
Ask a question. If we are typing on MS Word, is there a particular format, say the font size or the kind of is it Times New Times Roman, all those things? Do they have specific recommendations or specific requirements that they ask?
There are no requirements from the boss as of now. If there's any changes, I'm sure they would specify maybe on your questions or in the booklet. What I do when this is a gray area is I always look for a way to copy the font. So the font in which they send me the booklet, when I put it into my Word, it shows me the exact same font. So I just make sure that I use the same font, maybe reduce the, what's it called? The font size.
Okay.
Because that might be a little high. So you can do that, or you can use the general Times Roman and maybe like 10, 12 font size, something visible.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yes, boss, I can hear you.
Yeah, like the question my sister just asked, if you can like maybe present 2 or 3 scenarios in just one moral reason. And
yes.
I'm quite perplexed about your response to that question. People talk about lightning, talk about a space, which of course all of these fall under providing a safe working environment. And now we have a situation where even if you state like 10, you have just 1 mark. Now, how can you now present
that's not the answer
this
to the
case?
question.
Okay. Now talk about space, talk about lightning, or lighting and all that. How can you now separate them? I mean, what reason what point or what ways can you now separate them?
You're looking at those things as the answer to the question. That's why I said the first thing you want to do is you want to list your answers separate before you come to the scenario. So look at the question as, what are the moral reasons for promoting good health and safety? If you're answering that question, there's no way you're going to bring lighting and pedestrian crossing. No, your answers would be duty of care of the employers to the employees. Your answer would be the duty of care of employees to other employees, societal acceptance, as I've said. You know, all of these moral obligations that you have. Now you're going to link these answers to the scenario with examples that you have said.
Okay.
Those examples
Thank
are
you.
not your answers.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I think I can take one
Mr.
more
Kayode,
question
good
or so.
afternoon.
You can
Sorry,
always
Mr.
carry
Kayode,
it.
I want to ask
Yeah.
something.
Toyin, please let's take UDR's questions first, and then we'll
Yeah,
come back.
Mr. Kayode.
Yes, boss.
Please, when they mean 10 points for each question, does it mean that we have to provide 10 answers?
Yes, each
to each of
question,
these,
it might
make
not
this
be
10
each
points?
question would have 10 points. Some might have 15, some might have 5. It will all total to 100.
Okay, that's clear. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, Tony, you were saying something.
Okay, so how can I, sorry, please, I really need an explanation. How can I link protection of the organization reputation to that scenario?
How can you link, come again?
Protection of the organization reputation to like one of the points in the scenario.
You can link it to the fact that they were minor incidents.
Okay.
There were minor incidents, there were multiple near misses. And if any of those result into a serious accident, it would lead to a damaged reputation of that particular organization. If they had an accident due to a great number of near misses or from the other minor accident that they've already had.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, it's already 1:15.
Mr. Kayode.
Yes, boss, I can hear you.
Okay, I think what you're trying to say is every question sums up to 10 marks, right?
Most likely, it doesn't have to be every question. Some might be 15. Everything will sum up to 100 marks. Your 10 questions will all sum up to 100. You might have 20 marks, you might have 15, you might have 5.
Okay, but any particular question doesn't necessarily need to have 10 points. It could be 4.
Yes,
then
not
that
all.
4
The number of points will be determined by the mark you have in bracket.
Okay, not like every question you are chasing 10
5
points.
in bracket, it means you need 5. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay, I get you.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Kayode, still on that same line. Yes. Are you saying we have to put, like, if he has 10 marks, are you saying we have to put 10 points? And you also say that we have to make it in paragraphs. Does it mean like they have to come in 10 paragraphs? Like task 1 has to have.
If you're doing paragraphs, it's going to be 10 paragraphs.
Wow.
You have 24 hours, Duzi. 24. Don't worry.
Okay. Is it sorry? Is it to answer all, or we have some other questions that might
answer all? Answer all. Yeah, please.
Oh, wow. Not even say you jump one or leave one.
All right, guys. I think we can conclude for today. If you have any questions, you can always.
Please. You've only given us 1 point since we.
Oh, you have to
read
the
other
rest.
points are in your manual. Go and check it. You will get the answers to the question next week.
I've not seen anything in this manual. That's why I was saying
that. Go and check again. Go and check. Google it. Mide, do you have a question?
Yeah, I have something to say.
Yes, boss.
Okay. What if I should summarize everything you'll be talking about? It's just like the question Madam Tony was talking about. Basically, we should just attempt this question as if the scenario is not there. You get the 10 points. Then after you get that 10 points, you start linking each of the points to any part of the scenario.
Exactly. So that you don't get confused.
Yeah. So when you just give the answer, you just relate an example relating the point in that scenario to get your full mark. Okay. So that means the best way for everybody to attempt any question is forget about the scenario. Look at try to just to pinpoint what they are asking about. If they are talking about the statement of policy or statement of intent, the arrangement, consult a material which is your manual. get those points. Then after getting those points, try to reference or link a point that you've gotten from the open book, then relate it to the scenario, just to make them know that, okay, you are relating this to this. Because I get it when Mr. Kayode says something about making
Class will still break on their leg.
emergency preparedness and plans, something like that, in the secondary school. It is out of context when you tell them to buy they have to have life jacket where you just out of context. So the best way is for us to just answer this question like it's a closed book. Then after that, you relate your answers to the scenario. I believe that will help, because if you're looking at the scenario and you say you want to, from the scenario, get your point, you end up saying getting 5 points, and not just your 5 points will just be one example or 1 point. So I believe that will help us. Because
thank you very much.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
You're a nice man. You're a nice man.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay, so I think that's about all for today. It will be next week Saturday. Like I said, please attempt the sample questions, and then we're going to do corrections. I will send you my own answers next week Saturday after you must have done yours, and then we would compare to see where we have made mistakes. Thank you very much. I'm sorry for my internet issues. I promise that will not happen.
Hello. Hello, Mr. Kayode.
Yes, but
what time next week Saturday, please?
Same time.
The question.
Okay.
Yes. Someone has a question. Yes.
Have the sample questions you.
Who's playing the guitar then?
You said?
Some of us don't have the sample questions. How do we get it?
I will send it to you. I can see private messages already. I will send it to all the groups, and then I'll send it to the individuals that asked for the sample questions.
Okay.
All right, guys.
Group, all of us need
that. Thank you so much, boss. I appreciate
Professor MMM. Only you see on the book in your library.